I think breaking down the virtual as well is really significant.
Yeah.
Like, I think one of the biggest things that we can offer to kids is that they're going to be able to come into a physical place.
All right, real talk. Do you think you're a nerd?
Damn, that was like straight in. I mean, I think it depends on like. Well, I guess probably.
Yeah.
There's a certain area definitely that you fall into. I think probably no matter who you are, but yeah.
The definition ChatGPT gave it to me is if you've ever skipped a meal to grind XP, called in sick to beat a final boss, or cried over a game ending.
Okay, well I can say I've never cried over a game ending, and I've never called in sick. I want to make that very clear to work. Okay.
Yeah.
But I have I don't know, Grind XP I think is very massive multiplayer online sort
like
of vibe.
RuneScape kind of
Yeah,
vibe.
yeah. So it's not really the right thing, but I've definitely been that type of kid that grew up playing RPGs where you're doing Elder Scrolls or Fallout or something, and you're like, I'll just one more dungeon, one more place I'm gonna explore, and then I'll go to sleep, or I'll cook myself food or something like that, and then you figure out that you've just been completely enveloped in this world for
hours,
2-3 hours, more than you needed to be. So yeah, no, I mean, I guess so. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. I'm basically a nerd, so quick introductions. I'm Jack, and I work as one of the editors for Play New Meta, and this is Andrew.
Yep, and yeah, I'm doing all the communications work, so marketing director at the moment for Play New Meta Academy.
Nice. So moving on, what we're going to do is we're going to talk about our history with gaming, and then what sort of skills we developed from that, and then how does that incorporate into the academy as a whole. Okay. So do you know the percentage of kids who play video games in the UK?
Quick guess. I know it's around somewhere like 80% or something.
Yeah. Well, it's higher. 93% of kids. 93%. In the UK.
Yeah.
So it's a huge percentage of kids. I feel like everyone these days is now getting into the gaming industry just because the gaming industry is growing so much. Especially as soon as Fortnite came onto the scene, that was it. Kids were hooked. What sort of was your experience as a kid growing up with video games?
Well, it was kind of this weird transitional period, I think, because both of my brothers, so I have two brothers that are way older than me, 10, 13 years older than me. So my introduction to gaming, generally speaking, was, I mean, I'm going to jump on the PlayStation 1, I'm going to play some games with my brothers. We had racing sims like Gran Turismo. Absolutely loved that because it was my opportunity to just connect with my brothers in a way that, a 5 or 6 year old can't connect with somebody who's a teenager. I want to go and play with Legos or Playmobil or something like that. It's no, I don't want to do that anymore, but I'll play Gran Turismo with my little brother or something like that, right? But then, I mean, it kind of just grew from their perspective. I would always kind of understand gaming as you don't really tell anybody about it because it's really nerdy and you get beat up in high school or something about it. You didn't want to be that kid that was really into gaming.
Yeah, that's stigma around video games.
But then by the time I actually got to high school, which was 10 years after them, it was becoming more difficult to be a kid who didn't play games at all.
Right.
At least you played FIFA or you Call of Duty or something. You would do one of the mainstream games, maybe not the super specific kind of nerdy stuff that I was into.
Yeah.
But everybody had a taste for it, And I mean, now it feels like it's gone even further than that. I mean, I've gone to a bunch of these big gaming conventions recently as well. Gamescom, I've gone 5 or 6 times. And it is an entire world now of just everybody you could imagine. You've got the people that are there for the business stuff that are trying to create stuff and build kind of these multi-billion-dollar franchises and God knows what. But then you also have just the vast array of people that are trying to get into it. People that love FIFA. Yeah. You've got all these super athletic dudes there. You got I don't know, WWE there, and like muscle building people and God knows what.
I
Yeah,
feel like it's a.
there was a protein shake like vendor
Oh, really?
selling stuff there because like there's actually a market for that
Yeah, yeah.
within the gaming industry of all of these like what you would assume as like these super nerdy people, but it's just so vast and so
Yeah.
varied,
Do you think that's
you know.
because of the fact that you have parents now who are gamers? So now that it's their kids who play video games. It's sort of like a generational thing, right?
I think it, you know, to be fair, I think it was one of those. You grew up. I like the comparison to like TV,
Yeah.
right? Like there was a period where, you know, I guess let's say I don't know the exact dates, but let's say like 1950s or something like that. My mom told me about the times that like her dad would say, "Hey, you can't watch TV. It's brainwashing. Blah blah blah.
Yeah.
You need to go outside and do stuff." Um, and then you know at some point you know, I visited as a kid now my grandfather. He sat in front of the TV constantly just
Doing the
watching
same.
like, you know, football matches and stuff. So it's
Yeah.
like, okay, but you've kind of experienced the magic of it and you kind of understand why you would want to do it now.
Yeah.
So now it's part of your world,
Yeah,
you know?
exactly.
And I think it's kind of the same thing there. Like, yeah, I mean, the 1980s, 90s or whatever, um, you know, early 2000s even, like think about the games that were out at the time. Like there isn't anything that was like anywhere comparable to what we have now.
Mm.
So it's way harder to get into it if all you got is like one of these like side scroller things with like a little spaceship blowing up like little bombs or something. Like it's completely different from, you know, like we said, Fortnite or Call of Duty or
Yeah,
one
or
of
getting
these.
into these big games like
Yeah,
Fallout, into
exactly.
Oblivion, things like that. Very different. So if you could jump back into one game, world for a day, which game would you jump into?
I mean it's hard. I feel like that just fluctuates so much.
Depending on how you're feeling.
Yeah, I mean, there was this really old game that I played that I was just recently thinking about a lot was Lords of the Realm,
Yep.
and it's like I mean, you look at it now, it's horrible, like terrible graphics. It's like top down, but it's not even really 3D. It's mostly just like these little 2D images running around
Right.
or whatever. But the vibe of it was so good. Like you built your own like little settlement, you built a little army, and then you sent that army to go and fight other like
So is
factions
it like
on
an
this map and
RTS game?
stuff. I mean, sort of. I feel it's a little bit more like Total War,
Okay. Yeah.
strategy based. Like, so you have real time, but it's kind of top down, and you have set battles that you go into to fight.
Got you.
know?
Got you.
But yeah, no, that's like super nerdy. But I feel like I mean
Down the
like
rabbit hole.
something kind of like that probably like just one of these really old games you would want to experience in today's
Yeah.
tech. Actually, that's really the main thing.
I
Like,
would have gone the opposite way. Cyberpunk.
I really
I feel
yeah.
like going through that sort of universe would be like crazy, going into that future and
Mm.
experience that technology. But again, I would also like to go into like Kingdom Come Deliverance
Yeah.
and experience that whole medieval
Just
thing.
like
So,
have the full blown like medieval experience.
yeah, exactly. So in regards to skills that you've picked up from gaming, what's one skill you've picked up from gaming that you didn't realize was a skill until later on in life?
Actually, I think one of the big ones is kind of yeah, I guess like kind of a can do attitude.
Yep. Yeah.
Like I think there's a lot of stuff like gaming just kind of teaches you. Okay, so you go into a scenario. I don't know. You have to beat up 5 guys or something like that.
Right.
And they give you maybe 3 or 4 different ways you can do that. And you know, through trial and error, you kind of figure out, oh, after like 5 attempts, I beat these guys, but it was because I had to kind of change up my strategy, or I needed to do a specific thing, or
Yeah.
I don't know, I needed to drink a certain potion or something before that, or I don't know, whatever it is. But it's kind of you're in this constant world of like, how do I adapt what I'm doing to be able to, you know, handle the next challenge in this game.
Right.
And it's actually something I've experienced is when you speak to somebody who hasn't really had those experiences,
Yeah.
and then you put them in front of a game and tell them, hey, complete this thing, it's on hard difficulty or something.
Right.
They struggle so much
Yeah.
because it's just they haven't really had to get used to a world where everything's constantly challenging them, you
Yeah.
know? And you put it in front of a gamer, they're just like, yeah, okay, cool, I get it. I
Let's
know,
figure
I
out how
get
to do
what's
this.
going on, but I'm gonna like my brain's working. I'm gonna problem solve this, and I'm gonna figure it out.
Yeah, yeah,
Um, so I think that's actually a really, really useful skill that is massively overlooked. Like I definitely didn't think that that was going to be something I would pick up from gaming. You know, like I traditionally speaking, you'd always think like, oh, it's sports or something.
yeah, yeah. Of
But
course.
yeah,
To follow on with that, like you said, the challenges that people face. There's actually a statistic that surgeons who game make 37% fewer mistakes. So it's exactly like you said, is they're being challenged so much in video games that they get used to trying to overcome hurdles. And they also work 27% faster, so that comes down to exactly what you said as well. You get like a good work ethic from it. And they also scored 42% better on surgical skill tests. So,
okay, wow.
which is all links to everything you've just said, right?
Yeah, exactly. Like, yeah, I mean, I think that's that rinse and repeat, like handling challenges every step of the way. Really is just it's the fun part of it too.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, so it just kind of makes it enjoyable. Like I think, sure, I mean, throughout most people's lives, you're gonna have tons of challenges,
Yeah.
big, small, whatever it is. But the difference is that it makes it something that you can repeat very quickly,
Yeah.
and you can continue repeating until you get it right, which definitely is not the case in real life.
Yeah,
If
exactly.
you make a few bad mistakes, then you kind of have to just live with that. But you know, and I think in that case is like, all right, I'm just going to keep running with this and figure it out until I feel happy with the way that I resolved it.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I think it does give an experience that you don't really get anywhere else. Like even with sports, like I played traditional sports myself for like 15 years, and yeah, I mean there are challenges, but like 4 or 5 on Saturday when you go and play the game, or you know maybe a couple times during training camp, but like you're not gonna. It's not as repetitive. It's not constant. You know, it's just here and there speckled around. Most of the part, you're just kind of doing what you already know how to do.
Yeah, exactly.
So
a question that I've just thought about is, do you think different genres of games train different skills? Because obviously you've got FPSs, you've got strategy games, massively multiplayer games. Now, do different games hone in different skills, do you reckon?
Yeah, I mean, I think the way that you approach them, definitely, you know, and I think also the way that you decide to play them.
Yeah.
And that's actually a really big point that we focus on a lot at the academy.
Yeah.
Is like launching Fortnite, for example, and playing it for 2 hours. It's really easy just to kind of turn off your brain, run around, shoot some stuff, and then leave it behind and not really do too much with it. But like what we were just making the point of is like if you have a difficulty in a game, you can set it to easy and just coast through everything, never have any problems, and just you know be there for the story. And that, I mean, that's perfectly fine. Like I get it now. Like I come back from work and I'm like, I'm not gonna like sit down and put on, you know, extreme difficulty levels and like force myself through it. But like, I think that's actually the character building part, right? You actually did challenge yourself with it. I think that's the same thing we do with our Fortnite Academy, right? It's like you come in there, our coaches are going to constantly be challenging them. It's like, oh, you have great aim. You like your cognitive skills are amazing. Like you can aim great. You're really skilled at the game, but also you had 2 teammates. You didn't say a word to them the entire match. That's horrible, you know. Or your strategy sucked. Like you've got all the practical skills in a way, but you have none of the soft skills. You don't have the strategy stuff. You don't have the communication stuff, or whatever it is.
But that's what the coach is there to do, to help build those skills, right?
Exactly. Like it forces the kids that are coming in to really think like, while I'm enjoying something that I do like and that I have experience with, how do I continue to make improvements in it? And I mean, like, obviously, that's natural. I think that's it should be part of everyday life, you know? Where you're constantly kind of evaluating, like, how do I make myself better today? How do I make improvements on the things that I like doing? And I think this just makes it kind of a perfect environment to do it because they already want to be there. And they're willing to do that challenge because it's something that they enjoy.
I mean, that goes for our experiences when we were kids. Obviously, if we had something like this, it would be something that we'd want to do.
Exactly.
But you built a community prior to being part of Play New Matter, which I was part of as well. And that was the similar experience. You was basically my coach at that point. And I
Yeah.
built those skills like teamwork, communication, and the hand-eye coordination thing, problem solving. All of that came from that group, right? That
Yeah.
community, which is why when I go into the facility now, I wish I had that when I was a kid, and I was around other kids that was experiencing it in hand to hand because we were just over
Exactly.
voice, so
Yeah,
I
it
wasn't
was.
even close quarters with you,
Yeah, it was all just like massively just virtual.
Yeah.
Like I think meet up randomly here and there, but
Yeah,
like
yeah.
yeah, no, it was completely virtual for the most part. And then our facility, like it's this fantastic arena. It's super cool. Like the lights are everywhere.
Yeah.
You walk in there, you want to start gaming.
Yeah, exactly.
And then you have the like opportunity in a way to tell the kids, hey, you can actually sit down in this facility. Here's a coach. Let's
Yeah.
build a team. Let's do some of this work and like actually, yeah. I mean, like build these awesome skills while also building an amazing team and having a great environment.
I think it's also the engagement, right?
Mm.
I was speaking to one of the parents about the fact that some kids just don't engage with normal schoolwork, but when you've got something you genuinely enjoy, like Fortnite, you're engaged in that, which allows your learning process to actually kick in rather than, being bored, just sat there writing mathematics or something like that.
Yeah.
Obviously, key skills are important, but learning that communicational skill that you can get from the facility is key. So we talked a lot about the positives of video games and how they can help with different skills and things like that. What are the risks or concerns parents may have with kids playing video games these days?
Yeah, I mean, I think the major one is just being online and handling online interaction.
Mm-hmm.
I think a lot of the stuff, especially if you look at like Fortnite or these different games, the parental controls that the game focuses around is really just limiting the negative impact that communications online
Right.
can have. So, I mean, I think that's actually something we can bring it to the academy again and really talk about how useful that is because you take pretty much one of the, let's say, something that can be very negative
Yeah.
and turning it into a huge positive because there is this like commonality. I mean, it's the same reason why our community did so well. Everybody wanted to come together. They wanted to interact with each other
Mhm.
because you had that similar interest, and you're also interacting. And that was actually a really big part of my job at that point was making sure that we had a community that was healthy and nice, and that there wasn't like this negativity around.
Yeah.
And we were very on top of it. If there was somebody who came in that was like, oh, saying all this really mean stuff or something like that, or racial slurs or anything, there was like no tolerance. That person would just be kicked out. That's not how we do it. It's not too different with the academy. Like there's certain things that we're okay with, and then there's certain things that we can help with. Then there's kind of a certain point where it's like, all right, well, you're still in this community, you're still in this environment with young people, and you want to kind of build this really, really healthy, nice environment. So yeah, that's what we're going to be focusing on doing, and we're going to ensure that that's there for all the kids coming in.
Yeah. No, 100%.
So yeah, I mean, I think that's one of the big negatives is just online safety. Like you don't know who they're going to interact with online. When you connect to a random lobby, you can't control who they're going to interact with.
Yeah.
Even games, like when you launch them, they say like we're not going to take responsibility for any interactions that you have online.
Exactly.
Because
It's
they
like
cannot control that.
that stereotypical Call of Duty lobby.
Exactly. Yeah.
That's what you're trying to avoid, right?
People screaming at each other, racial slurs
yeah.
everywhere. Like I mean, it can be a really, really toxic environment.
Yeah.
And I'm not by any means saying like because of that online play should never happen.
Yeah.
But I'm just saying like it needs to happen in a little bit more of a controlled manner.
Yeah.
Like I mean, for example, for me right now, I play online all the time, but I actually only really play online with people that I know really well, and because of that, I have a fantastic time.
Yeah.
It's either with my brothers or like us together or somebody from the regiment back in the day. Like it, these people already. You know that they're kind of not gonna be like sitting around saying a bunch of mean stuff to other people and engaging in that. So I think that's a really, really big one.
Especially because a statistic I've got is that children spend up to 3.5 hours a day playing video games. And like you said, if you're in those environments that aren't safe and you're exposing your kids to that on a daily occurrence, that can be quite not beneficial, basically. But
I
on
mean,
the
it's
other hand, you can make it beneficial.
mm,
That's what the academy is there for, right? If they're spending a lot of that time around other kids and building those friendships and building teamwork and leadership skills, then that's a benefit only to them, you know?
I think breaking down the virtual as well is really significant.
Yeah.
Like, I think one of the biggest things that we can offer to kids is that they're going to be able to come into a physical place, face to face, and the people that they're playing with, their teammates or whatever,
Yeah.
aren't somewhere else where there's no consequence in how you communicate with them, really. Because, in the end of the day, if you have a bad interaction, you don't want to talk to them again, you unfriend them, you never hear of them
Yeah,
again.
of course.
In this case, they come into the academy, they have that kid sat right next to them.
Hmm.
So they have to actually work out those problems. If there is a breakdown in communication of like, oh, I thought you were going to go, right when I went left, you actually have to have that conversation, and you need to have the skill sets that are required to have that conversation in a productive manner.
Yeah.
And I think that's what, I mean, obviously our coaches are fantastic. They really help the kids actually do that when there is a conflict.
Hmm.
And I think also just like we said, the face-to-face environment. You can't just walk away from it. This guy's going to continue to be your teammate every week. So like,
It's also
you need to work on that. You need to figure it out.
learning the consequence of actions. Right?
Yeah.
So if I think as a kid you don't have that initially, learning that there is a consequence to the things that you do. But when you have that teammate right next to you and you do make a mistake, you take the accountability, and then you have to know that there is consequences to that. Right?
I mean, I think that's one of those aspects that, I feel like a role that maybe traditional sports does play, that also is true in our academy, is that sometimes the first time that kids interact with other people and kind of have to firstly compete or work together with each other is in that sports environment. And then, if there's pushback and they want to say something mean or whatever happens, they need a problem solve in communications.
Yeah.
That has to happen face to face. And then you do have to kind of like weigh it out. Be like, oh, well, do I actually want to do that? And do I really want to shout at him, or do I want to problem solve what the issue is?
Yeah.
And I think, again, you don't really get that sometimes on the line. And I think that is actually a really big worry from a lot of parents or anybody. I mean, like, if I was sending my own kids online, I would also be worried about, like, are they just going to kind of get caught up with that sort of interaction and get used to that?
Yeah.
Or are they going to be able to kind of learn something, like you said, where there's actual serious consequence to how you interact with other people?
Yeah.
And
in fun, but the thing is, they get to do that all in a good, fun environment, right?
Yeah, like a safe, nice environment. Like, you don't have to do it online with, I don't know, somebody's racist grandma or something like that. Like, you can just do it with other people that are cool, that kind of enjoy the same stuff as you, and it's the right environment for it.
Yeah.
Like, I've never see an occasion where we go into a class and there's two kids that just can't work together or something like that. Like, that doesn't exist. They'll figure it out, and they work out whatever the problem is, and they're better for it at the end. So.
No, of course. So another question is, how does the academy, we sort of touched on it, but how does the academy combine the gaming element with real life growth? I know that we've got obviously a few courses that we're running, like game development, and a new one coming up, which is the Creators Lab.
Yeah, the Creator Lab. Yeah. So I mean, I think the best way to understand the academy is we want to intro a huge variety of skills, but we want to keep the focus on games.
Yeah.
So like, if you wanted to come in and you wanted to, build on social skills, have that kind of community element, kind of do that sort of thing, we have like a gaming kind of esports environment for them to join into for that. If you wanted to come in and you were super creative, you wanted to figure out how to create your own videos, you wanted to do some editing, create thumbnails, create engaging content, something like that, like, emulate your favorite YouTuber or something like that.
Similar to what we're doing.
Yeah, exactly. Like, very much what we're doing right now.
Yeah.
Like, you wanted to jump into that world, we have the Creator Lab.
Yeah.
So similar sort of thing. You come in, you have a class, everyone's kind of working cumulatively, and giving each other feedback and working on these different skills, and essentially just building a skill set to know how you're going to approach content creation, generally speaking, But with that focus in gaming, and then the same thing with our game development class. We're going to learn like coding, 3D modeling, scripting, like any of that sort of stuff, and then using AI essentially to enhance that process and to speed it up potentially in certain areas. So I mean, very, very, very useful hard skills,
especially for the future. I feel like AI is going to come into a massive play with it.
Exactly. I mean, like I already know, like in the last few years, how my friends group has completely transformed.
Yeah.
Like we went from like nobody even knowing what ChatGPT was to like pretty much everybody using it on an almost daily basis for random things.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's absolutely crazy. So I mean, that's definitely going to be part of. I mean, at the very least, you need to be aware of how it works and how to use it going forward. Whether it is a daily part of your workload or not, or whatever it happens to be, it is useful to know how 100%. It works.
Going back to the game dev and the creator lab, the kids actually produce content, right? And then they actually get to keep it as well, going on from there.
Yeah, exactly. So game development, they walk away with, essentially building their own games. So every week or every couple of weeks, they'll walk away with a finished game. We're not talking about like, some AAA massive thing, but
the next Assassin's Creed.
Yeah, exactly. The next Fallout game or something like that. But they're going to be walking away with, if it's like the lower, so we have level 1, it's kind of like scratch-based stuff. So they're kind of building on, I don't know, having a side scroller where, you have a model that goes across the screen, collect coins, and then that's all collected in the bottom right. Something kind of basic you might play on your phone or something like that. Then we've got the level 2 where you're starting to go into Roblox Studios. That's like, now you're actually typing out the script. You're in a 3D world. You're creating potentially an environment for like multiplayer use.
Okay.
So you have to think about like user experience, like, making sure I don't spawn inside a rock or something like that. Like this sort of stuff, and like usability. What are the rules of the game? How does it work? Is it fair if people are here and there, whatever?
Seeing those Oblivion bugs.
Yeah. Exactly. So, I think like there's a good environment for that, for them to explore all that stuff. And I mean, like I mentioned earlier, this is all face-to-face.
Right.
So I mean, they have like this amazing environment. First, they have expert kind of teachers and people that really know what they're doing, teaching them these intros to these different things. But they also are doing it with other people that have similar interests. So like you can really refine what you're actually doing. I think especially with the content creator lab, anybody trying to create anything like art-wise who has had to do it completely by themselves with no feedback probably knows exactly what I mean.
I've been there.
It is the worst process in the world sometimes because you just need to have a second pair of eyes, somebody else with even just like the smallest creative idea that sparks that kind of creativity that shoots you into, oh, this is actually an amazing video. I want to do that. So, like, I think that's super, super useful. So yeah, all of this stuff is face-to-face. And I mean, the other element, it's also all about gaming. You can find courses like this. I think most kids go through some sort of computer science class in schools nowadays. They'll learn Scratch. It might have very similar types of aspects in the curriculum.
Yeah.
But the bottom line is that it isn't about gaming. It's about, like for me at least, I went through an HTML course when I was in high school. And I mean, I learned how to script a website, how to make sure that when I click a button, I go to the next page. Like that stuff is super boring to me at least. And I didn't really enjoy it at all. And I now see what they're going through, and I'm like, all right, well, I probably would have learned scripting a lot faster and had way more fun with it.
Because of that engagement.
If I had, yeah, exactly. Yeah. If I was building something that at least I really liked, even if it's a kind of a basic game, it's still something to do with gaming.
Yeah, exactly.
And I can see how that would connect to, I don't know, a mini game that you play in Resident Evil or something like that.
And I think from what I've seen from the facility as well is that engagement is because the kids genuinely enjoy the process of what they're doing. Whereas some kids may struggle at schools and things like that, especially I know that we have SEN kids, which is special education needs. And the facility really accommodates those children in order to be able to, learn, say, game development or get into the Fortnite space and build friendships where they may not have that at school, which is a huge thing, right?
Well, and it is a huge environment.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, the environment that we were able to build inside the arena there is amazing. Like, you got all these lights everywhere. You got these super high-end PCs. Like, there's a freaking streamer booth. Like, you've got everything that you need to just really want to get into that world, I think. And then not only do we kind of let kids rent out a PC and do whatever they want to do, but we actually have some sort of structure that's helping them interact and really grow within that space. So, I mean, yeah. I mean, as you said, firstly, just the environment by itself, any kid going in there is going to be super excited, super stoked to want to interact with all this stuff. Yeah, exactly. And then I would also actually say specifically for kids, have SEN or whatever, we have so many kids who come in and, like it's such a, like, I don't know, kind of a sad, emotional story almost sometimes. Parents come in and they say, yeah, like he's not even in traditional education. He struggles with, paying attention, whatever it might be, social anxieties, that sort of thing. And, he just can't engage with stuff. He can't build skills outside of the things that he really wants to do. And I think the environment, the way it's built, and, obviously with fantastic teachers that we have, I've seen them just sit down and you could see them sit there for 90 minutes and there's not one sign that they have anything wrong with them. Like they're perfect. They're running. Everything's great. They're super focused. They're super excited about what they're doing. And the parents are just sat there like baffled. They've never experienced their kid like that.
Yeah.
And I think that's something like we do service like a specific group of kids for sure that are benefiting so massively because of just that.
And that's the product of the environment that's been built.
Exactly. The environment, the structure that we approach, and then also, I mean, like I said, the coaching is just, we somehow combine it all. We combine it in a really good way for kids like that. And it's not something that we actually even thought we would do when we started classes. We didn't think that, oh yeah, I mean, we should do something specifically for kids like that. But they naturally kind of found us. They found themselves in the facility, and it just kind of worked. So, and then we just continue to develop that and support them with that. So, I mean, it's super great.
So, coming to the end here, a funny question for you. What soundtrack would you say from a video game would represent your life, or would you want in the background of your life?
No, that's a pretty good one. I think actually Fallout. There's a lot of really good songs in Fallout. And
that
I feel
Vegas, the New Vegas radio.
New Vegas radio, but I think also the recent one, Fallout 4, there's a lot of songs in there that are just like completely different vibes.
Yeah.
Which is already my Spotify
100%.
playlist. Is really, I put it on shuffle and it goes from like rock to classical or something. But no, that's the same thing. And they're all just like super upbeat. It's that like 1940s, 1950s music.
I would have the Skyrim.
Skyrim, yeah.
Just how it makes you want to, go slay a dragon.
The chanting in the background.
Yeah, of course. Let us know what soundtrack you would have for your life. But that is the end. We are Play New Meta Academy. Check out our website. We got free sign-ups on there as well.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. Thank you guys for watching.